Hello, 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 Mike. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good, I guess, for an old man. You
Well,
know how
that's
that goes.
we're
Uh,
in the same boat.
well, welcome tonight. Glad to have you here. And we just kind of going to hang out and talk about some current events and whatever else comes up. And I've sent out a few invitations, and if anybody else wants to come up and join in, they're welcome to. And
Yeah,
we'll see
because
what
you and I could get kind of boring real quick.
I know, we'll see what happens. I'll put the link on there if anybody wants to click on that and join us, they can. But yeah, we'll start out by talking about a few current events and just see what happens. And nothing else, maybe we can gossip about somebody. I don't know.
That's one way to get them to join in. Put them on the defensive.
Yeah, there you go. So what have you been into? How you been lately?
Well, I've been good. I've been staying in my lane with the true crime stories and the stuff I know about from my past. So
Yeah,
that's been going well. We've been getting good feedback on that.
okay.
And of course, like you, I'm just an old goat. They're trying to teach me some new tricks. So I'm playing and getting frustrated with my podcast and my
Yeah,
live streaming and inviting people to join in on my subjects.
yeah.
So I think this is a great idea, just to open up conversation to current events and what's going on in the world.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. So have you been keeping up with what's going on in the world?
Well, let's see. We're not going to talk politics, religion, or crime. So basically, the show's over. Uh,
The only rule is everybody just feel free to chat and treat everybody else with respect, and we all ought to be doing good.
yeah, I am keeping up. Not like most people. I watch all the news.
Yeah,
So I don't just watch the news that caters to what I believe. I watch all the news. So I get everybody's perspective, whether I agree with it or not. And I'm coming to the conclusion that, there's a little bit of truth in every lie. And there's a little bit of
yeah,
lie in every truth.
yeah. That's what I was getting ready to say. There's a little bit of lie in every tooth sometimes. It seems like. Uh,
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems like today things are going towards ratings and money, and the Walter Cronkites who just reported the news are gone.
don't you miss Walter Cronkite?
I do. And we used to wait until 6 o'clock in the evening to listen
Yeah,
to him.
yeah,
He wasn't on 24 hours a day regurgitating the same story with a new twist.
yeah.
So
And at the end, he said, "And that's the way it is." I mean, and you knew that was the way it was. You could count on that.
yeah, there was no personal opinions and no. I think the only time he really broke down is when Kennedy got killed.
Yeah.
And other than that, he was pretty much just a straight shooting news guy and really didn't show too much of his personal beliefs or opinions.
Yeah, you could trust the news a lot more back then than you can now. Now it's a lot of sound bites and everybody has an agenda and you don't know who to trust. And somebody said recently, if you want to be misinformed, watch the news. And if you want to be uninformed, don't watch the news. So take your pick.
I was just going to say that, and that's the truth.
You might have been the one who told me that. I don't remember.
I might have. I've been saying that for a couple of years now. That's my
Okay.
favorite catch. And when I talk to people who have very strong opinions, I just really my reply is, show me.
Yeah.
Why do you believe that? And a lot of them just they don't know. They
Yeah.
they believe what they believe because everybody else believes it, but they personally don't understand why they even have their opinions.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I know some people just believe whatever seems to be popular with their little crowd of people, and whether they're Republicans or Democrats or white or black or whatever group they associate with the most, they say, okay, well, this is what we believe.
Yep. And that's really the way it is, because when you go all the way back, the other common saying is nobody was born prejudiced or opinionated or a know-it-all.
Yeah.
Those are all learned behaviors.
Yeah.
And if you go back into the indigenous rainforest and stuff, you don't have all that.
Exactly.
And fighting and prejudice, and people are people. If they have 2 arms and 2 legs, it doesn't matter what color their skin is, or if they have lip rings and nose rings.
Yeah. So many people assume that the way things are now are the way they're supposed to be and the way they always were.
Yeah.
I went to the barber shop the other day to get all my hair cut off, and the barber, he was in training. I think he must have been 30 or something like that. He said, "Has Johnson City changed much since you were a kid?" I said, everything's changed. Everything has changed. So,
is that the area where you're from, Johnson City?
yeah.
Okay. About 10 years ago, I got called to go down to Johnson City by a bunch of, by a mother who lost a son to drug overdose. And that year, they had lost about 1,500 high school and college kids to drug overdoses.
Really?
So she flew me down. And what was interesting in Johnson City was they had a civic center.
Yeah.
That all the religious groups pitched in, the Jewish, the Pentecostal, the Catholics, they all pitched in, and they all used this community center. So when I got there were about 750 people.
Oh, yeah.
There. And you're from there. You have to shake hands with every single one of the 750, and everybody brought a plate to pass.
Yeah.
And at one point, I realized just how out of touch everybody was. So I said to all the pastors and deacons and rabbi, and I said, you know what, guys, this is an all-day event. Let's mix this up. Why don't you all you clergymen and elders get in the vans, and we're going to go downtown. And they looked at me like, are you out of your mind? The police don't even go downtown. I said, I know, but I drove through on my way into town, and I think that's where we have to start.
Yeah.
So we had 2 vans, and we went downtown, and they were just like, you're out of your mind. And I said, oh, all ye of little faith. Trust me, I'm going to get, and that whole strip was biker bars and gang bars and rough neighborhood. And we stopped in front of one bar that had picnic tables and a lot of outdoor activity. And I said, listen, I'm going to get out of the van, and if I signal you to come, just trust me and come. And if I signal you to get out of here as fast as you can, and do a group prayer for me, please. So I got out. Yeah.
Bob, can you hear us?
Oh. Hi, Bob.
Bob, do you hear us? Well, Bob, we don't hear you.
We don't see I don't see your picture or hear you. Maybe you want to check your camera and mic.
Well, do you see the space down below us that's supposed to be?
No.
No? You don't see that?
No, I just see mine.
Okay. Well, anyway, Bob tried to get in here. Bob, keep trying.
He'll figure it out. Use the chat if you need to, Bob. Well, maybe try to sign in again.
Yeah.
So we went down into the group, and there was this, he had to be 6'5", tattooed from head to toe, chains and spikes and everything. And I said, would you do me a favor? I got a bunch of church people here. I'm from New York, but I'm not a cop. I don't have a camera. I don't have a microphone. Can you explain to these people why you're in Johnson City, Tennessee, and tell them it's their kids and their money, not that you enjoy the weather or you really would have picked this place out of all the places in the United States? And the guy looked at me and he says, yeah, bring them out. We spent 3 hours there. And they were really, really educational to all these religious leaders and said,
Now, what was the name of this place?
pardon me?
What was the name of this place?
You know, I don't remember the name of the bar, but it was right downtown Johnson City. There was like a 2-lane road that went through the outside of town. Then if you turn whatever direction you were going, right or left, you went right into the town. But these were the bars and the hangouts right outside the direct entrances to the downtown area. And I had talked to the police chief down there at that time, and he said, no, we don't go down there. We don't go down there. Yeah. And but they were very informative. They were very educational. And they said, listen, we don't want to be here, but every time we steal your son's cell phone, you buy him a new one. So we just keep stealing his cell phones. And every time he comes down for his drugs, we take his money, and then we take your car, use it on our drug deliveries, and we wreck it. And you buy him a new car. You know, so really we're here because you don't know how to raise your kids. Because they didn't go up into the neighborhoods just outside of Johnson City because you had to be a billy goat to get from one house to the next. All the houses were on steep hills in some of those neighborhoods.
Yeah.
So I spent 3 days there, and we got a lot of the parents turned around. And out of those 750 or so people that attended, I don't think one of them did not know somebody who wasn't addicted to drugs or had died from drugs or OD'd from drugs.
Yeah. We definitely have plenty of drugs around here. No problem.
Yes, you do. Yeah. But everybody in the country. I've been all over the country for people like that, and they're not alone.
And one thing that I hate to admit, but it's true, we actually have an epidemic in East Tennessee of parents selling their kids into sexual abuse just for alcohol and or drugs or money.
Yep.
That's sad. That is sad.
That's sad on a local basis, but it's also going on an international basis. Kids are being sold to trafficking for drugs.
Yeah.
Or to pay off drug debts of the parents.
Yeah. That's sad.
But it's not in the news this week, so it really doesn't exist.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Hey, have you been keeping up with the fire over in Hawaii that burned the whole town? I think it's Maui or something like that.
I might have heard about it, but not really up to date on it.
Yeah, it burned the whole town. I don't know how many people ended up dead or still trying to find all the bodies. It was the whole town just burned up.
Now, where was that? Where was that at?
It was on one of the Hawaiian islands.
Oh, yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. We my wife and I got married on Maui.
Yeah, there you go, Maui.
Yeah, on Maui. Yeah.
Well, there's nothing left of it now.
I know. We were watching, like, where we got married and where we got our tuxes and where our hotel was. And that's just all gravel now. It's just all dust.
Yeah, that's sad. And all those fires up in Canada, they're still sending a lot of smoke all over the country.
Yeah, I was listening to something on that today, and they said that just, it's so rural that a great percentage of that isn't even being fought. They're just letting it burn out because they just can't get to those areas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's sad. sad.
It is sad, and I don't know where everybody is on the global warming and stuff like that, and I don't think any one thing is responsible for it, but I do think we humans have a lot to do with it, with our pollution and the way we're developing. I was talking to a guy last night that was really down on the Maui thing, and I said, "Well, do you realize that there's like hundreds of acres of sugarcane fields that haven't been farmed in 10 years that are just all dried up tinder, and they're building on top of what used to be active sugarcane plants and plantations? So they're building right on top of the kindling.
Yeah,
So when something does go wrong, and especially with those winds, who's got a chance to react?"
yeah. And they said that they didn't even sound the alarms like they should have.
And
A
who
lot
knows,
of people really complaining about that.
and who knows what the truth is there? Because if the alarms would trigger 90% of the population to think a tsunami was coming,
Exactly.
they'd be running right into the fire.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of talk about what they had planned to do and never followed through on,
Yeah,
as far as fire warnings and lava warnings and stuff like that.
yeah. Yeah, it's sad.
And then when your electric goes out, how do you warn anybody anyways?
Yeah, exactly. You don't have the internet, and most people's radios are run electric, and
Yeah. And this happened so fast. It wasn't like an earthquake that might be predicted 2 days
Yeah.
in advance, or a tsunami who might be
Yeah.
predicted 24 hours in advance. This just went from a spark to wind to fire to no electric,
yeah,
no communication.
yeah, just bam, bam, and there it was.
Yeah.
And now they're expecting a hurricane in California,
Yeah.
and that's unusual.
There's a lot of firsts.
Yeah,
Now FEMA says they have enough money for maybe one or two more disasters, but they're running out of money.
yeah,
And the hurricane, tornado, flood seasons haven't even started yet.
yeah,
And they're already behind financially because of all the unusual things that have happened already this year.
yeah. I know.
So everybody's got an opinion, and I just keep saying, if you were there, tell me about it. If you weren't there,
Yeah.
well, let's just admit we're.
Yeah, people generally don't need to know anything about things these days to give you their opinion.
Facts don't matter, just assumptions. And you know what they say about assuming.
Yeah. What was that thing that was it Kellyanne Conway that used to talk about alternative facts or something like that? Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Whatever that is, right?
Well, I finally shut up because for the last 3 years, I've been screaming at the top of my lungs, what about the RICO Act? What about the RICO Act? How come nobody's talking about the RICO Act?
Yeah,
So now in the last couple of weeks, they're talking about it. So I got nothing to complain about.
yeah, yeah,
But in my book, I have a quote from Rudy Giuliani that says, law enforcement learned much more from criminals than criminals learned from law enforcement.
yeah.
And
That's one thing they did teach you in prison, from what I hear, how to do better next time.
Yeah. And because when I worked undercover, I knew a few of those lawyers. The guys would go to them and say, this is what we're going to do. Tell us the best way to do it.
Yeah.
So that if we get caught, we get the least amount of time.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that solicit kids to do their crimes for them because they won't have to do much time, if any.
Well, that's right. That's right. There's always an angle how to get out of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
I seen something on TV today that surprised me. The biggest thing that gangs and criminal mafia types are engaged in nowadays is food. I mean, that really surprised me. There's all kinds of weak spots in the supply chain that they smuggle food, and and that surprised me.
yeah, it's the same con with a different subject. In the 80s, we had guys that worked at the railroad,
Yeah,
and they knew exactly what each car was carrying. And there happened to be a big warehouse grocery store next
yeah,
in our area, and they would just pull those cars off the railroad property, put them onto the warehouse property, put it in the garage overnight with a tractor,
yeah,
empty it, and then put it back out in the railroad yard empty. And
yeah,
nobody knew it was empty until it got to its destination. God only knows how many states away.
yeah.
There's always an insider.
Yeah, and think of all the trucks that are on the road at any given time. They can be hijacked.
Well, they can be hijacked. And there was one local big East Coast company here. He used to send the trucks out with $10,000 worth of merchandise, tell the driver to park it in New Jersey in this parking lot.
There you go.
And it would get heisted.
Yeah,
And then he would report to the insurance company there was $300,000 worth of lost stuff.
yeah,
And the guy who heisted it got the $10,000 as his payment to go sell on the street.
yeah, exactly.
So,
There's all kinds of opportunities for the criminals.
all kinds of cons and opportunities and insurance schemes.
And the prisons are overcrowded, but we still keep sending them to them. So, we ain't not going to stop.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I've worked with several ex-cons who really can't wait to go back to prison because after 10 years, they just don't know how to function in society. And it's easier. They know what time they're waking up, what they're wearing, where their food's coming from.
They don't have to make decisions.
They don't have to make decisions.
Yeah,
And when you get out of prison after 10 or 20 years, and you have to go to your parole officer, and you have to go to your counseling, and you have to go here, and they want you to have a job, but then they overload you with requirements to stay out of prison so that you can't get your job or keep your job.
yeah,
And then either way you look at it, it takes a special person and a special support team to rehabilitate today.
yeah. And most people, when they get out, they give them maybe $100 or something like that. And some of them don't even have anywhere to go. So they're just out on the street. All they can do is commit crimes.
Yep.
It's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah, the incentives are all wrong.
Yeah.
I learned from my experiences with law enforcement, especially. I had Ohio, a mayor and a police chief, put it very simply. They said, Mike, you go to Washington and tell them you need $100,000. You're a police chief. You got crime, you got drugs, you got home invasions, you've got all kinds of nonsense going on. You'll get your $1 million.
Yeah.
But now we let you clean up our community, and we go to Washington and say, hey, I need $1 million. I have no crime. I have no break-ins. I have no drugs. They're going to say, go home and lay people off.
Yeah.
So nobody's in business to put themselves out of business.
Yeah.
We have to do enough to look good, but not too much to put ourselves out of business.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not just law enforcement. That's everything. It's the medical industry,
Yeah.
law enforcement. It doesn't matter what the industry is. The incentives are wrong. Nobody's getting bonuses for solving problems.
Yeah.
One guy on the war on drugs says, you don't make money winning the war. You make money fighting the war.
Yeah.
And it's 50 some years old, and there's more drugs than when the war started.
Yeah. Well, look at the military industrial complex. I mean, all the billionaires own the companies that make the weapons.
Yep.
So, if they make the weapons, they got to use the weapons so they can sell more weapons. So that's the war industry right there.
It sure is. It sure is.
Yeah.
And most people aren't affected by it, so they don't think about it.
No.
And they don't stand up and fight about it.
Yeah. A lot of people don't even want to watch the news, which I can't blame them. But if you don't watch it, you don't know anything that's happening. So it goes back to what we said earlier. You can choose between being misinformed and uninformed. Thank you.
And that's why I try to watch all of it.
Yeah.
Because I think I'm smart enough to take the common denominators, even though all 4 news agencies say something completely different. I try to figure out what all 4 of them are saying the same.
Yeah.
So there's, 3 sides to every story.
Yeah.
Your side, my side, and right in the middle is the truth.
Yeah. Somewhere.
Right.
Yeah. This whole border control issue, that's a mess too. It's a mess too.
It is.
It was a mess under Trump and it's a mess now under Biden. So you can't blame it on whoever's in charge. It's just a mess.
And it's been a mess for decades.
Yeah.
Just a different mess. But I know one thing. My kids and my nieces and nephews aren't going into any watermelon fields and picking fruits and vegetables. So yeah, you don't want too many immigrants here, but you got to have some kind of work program, because those are the only people that are going to put fruit and vegetables on our tables.
Yeah.
Nobody else wants to do it.
Nobody else wants to do it. The jobs that they do picking those crops, I can understand nobody wanting to do it. It's like backbreaking work most times.
It is. It's backbreaking. It's demeaning. And so we don't want them here, but we don't want to go do it ourselves.
Yeah. It's like prisons. We want a lot of them, but not in my neighborhood. You know how that goes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Same things with homeless shelters. We can't have enough. I don't put them beside my house.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. But everybody has to be somewhere.
Everybody's got to be somewhere, and there's always that homeless person that doesn't deserve to be there, didn't ask to be there. And I actually know a couple of homeless people that get good pensions and Social Security and stuff, and they would rather be homeless knowing that they're going to eat well, because they just don't want to deal with their families and friends and society anymore. Because I know a couple of them, and I said, "What are you doing?" And they're like, I just don't like people. I'm better under the bridge.
Yeah. I know. I have a homeless ministry. I go downtown sometimes and taking food and clothing and things like that. And you meet some interesting people like that. Some of them are very intelligent, very articulate, and really nice people. Some of them are a lot better people than the people I know close,
Yep. I used to, years ago, I had a little breakfast and lunch place. And the guys all the homeless guys used to come in at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, get their coffee. And I didn't really notice how much whiskey they put in their coffee. But some of them were CEOs and executives and managers 10 years before. And, their wife died, or the kid died, or the business went under. And, it wasn't their choice.
Hey, Bob.
Hi, Steve. I'm in, I tried to get on my phone and I couldn't, but the computer worked.
Okay. Well, it's glad you're here. This is Mike Bonventry. Mike, this is Robert Gonzalez.
Hi, Bob.
Mike.
How are you? How you doing tonight? All right,
I'm good. What's happening?
Here's the rule for the next show. If you're going to chew on screen, you got to bring enough for everybody.
Got a little ice cream bar.
There you go.
Congratulations, Bob, on your book. It seems to be going well.
Thank you, Steve. It was a labor of love, man. I really enjoyed doing it.
Yeah.
It was, yeah. You guys ever read The Old Man and the Sea?
Yeah.
Mary
years.
Yeah, Mariel Hemingway, Ernest's granddaughter, wrote the forward for me.
Oh,
That's
wow.
pretty cool. That's pretty
Yeah.
cool.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
she loved it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
That's-
Yeah, we got 3 authors on panel here so far, so we're doing good.
Yeah.
Now,
What
were
did you write
al-
about?
Were you
Mike,
always
what-
a writer?
I started in my 50s, really. I did a book of poems, and then I wanted to write a book about my fishing adventures, because I really loved it. And I put it out there, and it was great. I really enjoyed doing it. The hardest part is the marketing, but it's getting there.
Yeah, that's where the real work comes in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the real work. Did you self-publish or did you have a publisher?
I went through a company called Mindster Media, and they do everything for you. And they work with Mariel. That's how I got her on board. So they have different packages. I knew when I wanted to do a book about fishing in the ocean and stuff, I knew I wanted her. So that's how it worked out.
Yeah, that was definitely a good pick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who's in your forward is really important to the people who don't know you.
Yeah.
They get you, they open the door for you to, if I see her, I'm going to go, well, if she's
Yeah.
going to write, I got to see what this guy's got to say.
Yeah.
Then it's all up to you and your credentials.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was in the drug testing business, and when Bush was president, we had that first recession.
Uh-huh.
All my big federal companies were saying, "Hey, Mike, you're too honest. You're too ethical. You got to turn your head. You have everybody in rehab, and we can't run our companies." And I called my wife and I said, "I'm not doing this." And she said, "Well, we'll talk about it at dinner." And I said, "Well, I kind of sent out 500 notices that I'm done."
Mm.
And my wife is an attorney. Her favorite saying was, "You do know I'm an attorney and I could divorce you by noon tomorrow." And she said,
Well,
"So
get
now
all your money.
yeah." And she said, "So now what do you want to do?" And I said, "I want to write a book about it. If I can't make a living being honest, let me write a book about how I can't make a living being honest."
There
And
you go.
she said, "What do you know about writing books?" I said, "Not a thing, but you're a lawyer, form a publishing company."
Wow.
And we formed Lady Law Publishing.
Wow.
And I had a couple of friends that were authors, and we just took the notes and dictated and had our first self-published book. But I had, like you, I had Mike Levine, who was a world famous former DEA agent,
Uh-huh.
best-selling author, and a lot of credentials.
Mm-hmm.
He contributed to my book and to my forward.
Uh-huh.
And he, who was I?
Yeah.
With him in the book, then people got interested in what I had to say.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mike Bob was one of our panel members on a podcast I did a couple years ago called Conversations About America. We had some good talks on that.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it just didn't catch on. We done 8 episodes, and then we kind of gave in on that one. But
Well, times change.
Yeah,
You never know.
we learned things. And Bob, you remember Essence?
Yeah.
I invited her to join us. She can't make it tonight, but she said she will in the future.
Yeah. I remember the guy too from Wilkes-Barre. I forget his name though.
Well, we had 2 of them. We had Quentin Ford, and we had the guy that was running for president,
Yeah.
Michael Landingham.
Mm.
Remember him, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's hard to forget.
Yeah. Is he still running?
He is. He's still running and
Yeah.
loves to talk about it. And
Mm.
yeah, I had him on another podcast a few weeks back that I do called Friday Night Conversations. I had him on, and yeah, he's ready to talk politics.
Yeah.
Tell everybody how Donald Trump's still trying to kill him.
Yeah.
What are you eating, Bob?
A little popsicle, but I'm almost done.
Okay, yeah, it looks like it.
Yeah.
It must be good.
Yeah. It's good.
Do you eat a lot of fish, Bob?
Yeah,
Do you?
grouper and snapper. Wahoo is my favorite though. Wahoo's really good.
Yeah.
Mahi mahi's pretty good too.
Now, do you cook it? Do you oven bake it? Do you barbecue it?
A frying pan and sometimes in the oven. I like to cook my own catch. It's one of the few things I really enjoy cooking, but I do like to cook my own catch. It makes you feel like the job is complete.
Sure. Now, where are you from? What area?
Well, I grew up in Pennsylvania, but I'm living in Florida now. I've been here for like 30 years.
Okay. All right.
Mm.
I'm in upstate New York, right on the border of Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
3 miles to higher gas prices.
Yeah.
They were always 10 cents cheaper than us. And then when the fracking came in, all of a sudden everything exploded in Pennsylvania.
Really?
Yeah, because we always used to go to Pennsylvania to fill up our cars because it was at least 10 cents a gallon cheaper.
Uh-huh.
Then when fracking came in and they're drawing all the gas out of Pennsylvania, all the prices went up.
Really? Oh, wow.
Well, they were getting it from there, but they were shipping it all over the country.
Mm.
So we weren't getting the benefit of the production of it.
Mm.
And they were mostly down around the Williamsport area.
Yeah. So are you near Binghamton, New York?
My wife's office is in Binghamton.
Yeah.
We live in Endicott.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was from Scranton, outside of Scranton.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Wilkes-Barre, Scranton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how's the weather in Florida, Bob?
It's really hot, man.
No surprise there.
You don't even want to go out in the daytime right now.
Really?
Yeah.
And
It's just too hot. It's the hottest summer that I can remember for
really?
years.
There's a lot of people saying that around the country.
Yeah. It's a lot of weird weather. You know, we were just saying California this year had hail in Los Angeles, and now they're getting a hurricane all in one year. How weird is that?
Exactly. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. That's
Really?
Yeah.
Now, whereabouts in Florida are you?
Right now I'm in Destin. It's in the Panhandle.
Okay. All right. I used to live in Pompano.
Okay.
Fort Lauderdale, Pompano
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
And I've got friends now in Orlando that just say it's just brutal with the heat, humidity, and I was joking with the one guy from Miami. I says, "Geez, you don't even need a frying pan now. The water's so hot, you can go down to the beach with a knife and fork and eat them as they're swimming by."
Yeah. You moved back to New York from after living in Florida?
Yeah. You know, I had a place right on the ocean for almost 3 years, and my parents came down. They said, "How's the beach?" And I says, "You know what? I don't know. I go to work at 6 a.m. I come home at 10 at night, and I'm going to find out now that you're here visiting me." You know, and so I came home, and they said, "What are you doing home?" I said, "You don't want to live in paradise. You want to go and visit and enjoy it."
Did you ever get into the fishing down here?
No. I had a boat. I mean, we went fishing a few times, but we weren't avid fishermen.
Bob, did I ever tell you about the time I cleaned groupers in South Carolina?
I don't think you did. No, tell me.
I was 16 years old, and me and a couple of buddies ran away from home. We ended up in Folly Beach, South Carolina, and we got robbed on the way, so we didn't have any money.
Wow.
So the guy gave us a job in the afternoon cleaning groupers.
Wow.
And he paid us a little bit of money and all the old Milwaukee beer we could drink. And it's a wonder that we didn't cut our throats. We drank so much, but them groupers, you know how they stink.
Yeah.
And we smelled awful. It was sad.
Yeah. They're an ugly fish and they stink, but they taste good. You know, that's a good grouper fillet.
I never ate any, but I sure.
Really? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we spent a whole afternoon cleaning those suckers. Yeah. Not a fun time.
Yeah.
We used to smelt fish up here in New York, and of course you had your limit. You had your 5-gallon bucket. So we brought firewood and frying pans and oil, and we sat on the creek bed eating them. So I'm sure we caught 3 times our limit. Just two of the buckets went home in our bellies. We sat and fished all night and ate all night.
Yeah. Yeah, that was an interesting trip I made to Folly Beach. I ended up on a commune of, you remember the Jesus Freaks? Do you remember them? From back in the late 60s, early 70s, they lived together on communes, and it was a bunch of hippies that were all about Jesus, and it was interesting. I ended up on a commune up there for a while. It was an interesting time. But it was better than the groupers.
Yeah.
Selling flowers at the airport's a
Yeah.
lot cleaner.
How you feeling these days, Steve? I know you had a heart attack, huh?
I'm doing pretty good. That was back in November of 21, so
Yeah.
I've recovered a lot since then. But I try
Okay,
to
good.
take it easy.
Good for you. Yeah. I'm happy for you.
Yeah, that was no fun.
I'm sure. Yeah.
No fun at all. And I hope I don't repeat it.
Yeah.
But it's not any fun growing old.
I know. It's awful.
Yeah. I heard somebody say a while back, growing old is not for sissies.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mother-in-law, when she was 92, she'd say, "You're going to be just fine. Just don't get old."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'd say, when are you going to give me advice I can actually follow?
She must be doing something right.
They did. My father-in-law was 92. She was 94, just turning 94 when they passed, but they were healthy. And when they were young, they all had gardens. They all walked. Very few people in my neighborhood had driver's licenses ever in their lives.
Yeah.
And, I used to drive by and see my uncle walking up the steep hill with grocery bags. And I'd say, "Hey, Uncle Jack, you want to ride?" He goes, "Why? You want me to be fat and lazy like you?" And he'd keep walking.
Yeah.
Great inspiration there, Mike.
Yeah, well, my godfather lives down the hill. He'll be 90 pretty soon, and he still has this full garden going. And
Really? Wow.
yeah, and he's out there bent over picking up the dandelions and
Yeah.
on the ladder cleaning out his gun.
Yeah.
I have a friend that's 74 that still jogs for 5 miles.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Wow.
when he ain't jogging, he goes to the Y and swims for 45 minutes doing laps.
Wow. Huh.
That's good cardio.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think he's in better shape now than I was when I was in boot camp.
Yeah.
So what's some of the big hot topic in your area now, Bob?
In my area, well, I'll tell you, Florida has a couple problems. They have some of the highest homeowners insurance rates in the nation.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and electricity too. The electricity bills here, man, we really pay through the nose for power.
Do you?
Yeah. And and inflation in Florida is higher than people think. Everybody thinks Florida is some great paradise, but we pay through the nose for things.
Yeah.
And it's been that way a long time because people just don't realize that the average worker is barely making above minimum wage unless you own a business or you're middle level. But you're paying the paradise rent and utilities.
Yeah.
Yeah, they call it paradise, don't they?
Some of those homes that were damaged from that hurricane last year around the Sarasota area, a little south of Sarasota, called Northport, they still have tarps on their roofs. They haven't been able to get the insurance companies to pay up.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if we have another hurricane or two like that, forget it.
Yeah.
my grandson is just outside of Northport.
Really?
Yeah, just outside of there. And my father had a house in Port Charlotte,
Yeah.
and he got hit 4 times in 8 years.
Wow.
And he was on a 5-acre lake in Port Charlotte.
Yeah.
And the first one took his roof off, and the second one collapsed the seawall. His swimming pool went into the lake. And I think he was there 8 years and got hit 4 times, major damage.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did the insurance companies pay up?
No, because he was right in that alleyway. When he went down, he didn't realize he bought the lot. Then he built the house before realizing there was no insurance in that swatch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So, and then he sold it to the president of St. Joseph's Hospital.
Yeah.
And he came back home to New York. And I think in 2 years, the guy called my father and he said, Sam, I can't even find my living room couch. There's nothing left but the slab.
That's sad.
Yeah. Well, what was sad was in the 80s, I bought 3 lots on that lake for $1,800. And I sold them, all 3 of them, for like $20,000 a piece. And then my father calls me 20 years later. And he says, Mike, I found this beautiful building lot on this 5-acre lake in Port Charlotte. And I said, Dad, what's the address? And he told me, and I said, how much did you pay for it? He says, well, I think I stole it for $43,000.
Yeah.
I said, you know, Dad, I don't have the heart to tell you, but I own that very lot for $1,800.
Wow.
1,800, huh?
Well, thank God I didn't try to build on it.
Yeah. You know, there's a lot of people who keep rebuilding out in California on those side of those cliffs.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
don't understand why they keep rebuilding there.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
now with this hurricane coming in, they're going to have mudslides like you can't believe.
Yeah.
With all the fires
Yeah.
tearing up the trees and the grass.
Yeah.
There's no roots to hold the mud down,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but they keep building.
They keep building. Well, as long as they can keep insurance, I guess they'll keep building. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, North Carolina is like that too. They build on the stilts and right on the ocean, and you get wiped out every 5 years. And
Yeah.
you're talking about $1 million homes you're rebuilding.
Yeah.
I guess they got plenty of money. They can afford to do that. You know?
Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
I still kind of like where I'm at because we don't get the hurricanes, the big floods and earthquakes and tornadoes, and you can leave and go anywhere you want in the wintertime and enjoy a place. And if the weather's bad in Florida, we'll go to California. If the weather's bad in California, we'll go to Virginia.
Yeah.
You know, someplace new every winter to get out of here. But in the summertime, it's upstate New York's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have pretty decent weather in East Tennessee. We don't have tornadoes and hurricanes.
That'd be a perfect climate, Tennessee. I remember going to the Tennessee, Carolinas, or, you know, after I left Pennsylvania, I'm thinking, when does winter start? You know, because it was wintry, but it was so much milder than what I was used to.
Yeah. Yeah, we can have snow one day and temperature the next day.
Yeah.
Or vice versa.
Yeah.
Now, do you miss the hills at all, Bob?
Yeah, I do. It was nice. I used to hunt too, so I missed that a little bit too.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just that for me, the winters just go on for too long.
Yeah, we're starting to think that, and we came up with this whole podcast idea as a retirement gig.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, on paper it sounded good. We'll go sit at the beach for 3 or 4 hours, go to the hotel, do a couple podcasts, and go back to the beach. It sounded good on paper, but I'm working as many hours now as I did when I was working.
Yeah.
But we're having fun. We're chit-chatting, meeting new people, and having fun.
Yeah. Well, having fun's good. Having fun is good.
Yep.
So what is there fun to do in New York? I imagine pretty much everything, right?
Yeah, if you're adventurous, we got the Finger Lakes, the Great Lakes. I'm about a 2.5 hour drive from Lake Ontario. 45 minutes, 50 minutes from the Finger Lakes. So there's a lot to do up here if you're an outdoor person.
Yeah.
And there's a lot to do if you're an indoor person. We got a lot of art and forums and Broadway shows that they bring upstate. Got the PGA and Dick's Sporting Goods is pretty big on the East Coast, and they have golf tournaments and stuff. So there's a lot to do.
Yeah.
That's Dick's Sporting Goods is everywhere, man. They're down here too.
Well, they just bought half of the Johnson City Mall,
Yeah.
and this is going to be their national headquarters. And they've got climbing walls. They built a huge outdoor stadium for soccer and different outdoor sports. And it's just a huge, huge facility. I don't even think they officially opened yet, but they're going to be opening anytime now. And this is going to be their East Coast headquarters. And I knew them, their family. I went to school with one of their nephews back in the 70s, and they had just that tiny little store on Court Street. And we used to go out to their cottage in Susquehanna, Pennsylvania. And it was just a normal, everyday working man's cottage. You know, who would have thought they would become the multi-million-dollar conglomerate that they are?
Yeah.
But they still have their original store.
Really?
Tiny little original store on
Yeah.
Court Street in Binghamton, and they've kept that open through all the growth.
Mm.
Now, how far are you from the beach, Bob?
I can walk to the beach.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds like a rough life.
Yeah. After a while, you take it for granted. You probably shouldn't, but you do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the way it is with the mountains in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Well, they're beautiful, but once you've seen them, you know, they all look alike.
Yeah. Wow.
And are you close to the beach, Mike?
No, I'm about 200 miles west of New York City, New Jersey, and all the beaches, 220 miles from the ocean. But if you go to Lake Ontario and you sit on the beach there, you can't see Canada. You might as well be in an ocean.
Yeah.
They've got the tankers and
Yeah.
big ships, and if you didn't know it, you'd think you're sitting on an ocean beach.
Yeah.
So, except for the cold weather,
Yeah.
after 3 months, we get about 3 or 4 months of good weather.
Yeah.
And then it's either cool or freezing.
I think it's been about 40 years since I've been to the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Mm.
I guess it still looks the same, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It cracked me up the first time I took my wife and her family to Fort Lauderdale. We flew down, got off the plane, went to the hotel right on the ocean, and they said, "Well, let's go to Miami." I said, "You just flew 1,500 miles. The beach is right in front of you. Do you really think it's that much difference 20 miles down the road?"
Mm.
Yeah.
We went,
Yeah.
and Maui was worth the trip.
Mm.
If my in-laws and nieces and brother-in-law, sister-in-law weren't with us, I'm pretty sure we would have stayed there.
Mm.
Maui was beautiful back then.
Have you been keeping up with the news about Maui, Bob? Well, they have the city.
Yeah, I have my own theories about that, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's an awful lot of coincidences in explaining that has to be done, I think, before we know what the real story is.
Well, go ahead and tell us the real story.
Well,
Don't tell anybody.
I don't know if, you know, I get it, my new, you know, information like anybody else, but I don't know, man. Well, I don't. You find it suspicious that the alarms didn't go off when they were supposed to, and then the water was turned off to, douse the fires. I mean,
It
and
sounds
then
like a conspiracy, doesn't it?
it's a lot of fishy stuff. It's who knows.
Yeah,
Yeah, and that's the trouble. Unless you're there, you just don't know. You can have your hypothetical situations. I was listening to people that believe just like too much of a coincidence that the water went off, and then the other guy says, "Well, how are you going to pump water with no electricity?"
Yeah,
So did they shut it off or did it go off?
yeah,
So you never, if you're not there. And today, who knows how much of the truth we're ever going to find out?
yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
Everybody got their own spin to put on things,
yeah.
We
depending on which news channel you watch.
we put a big household generator in our house because when the in-laws were in their 90s, electric was always going off. So we figured, well, we'll put the generator in our house, and then if it goes off in the winter, we'll bring them up. And I'll tell you, that's been a lifesaver. And there's always a different excuse why the electric goes off when there's not bad weather.
Yeah,
The squirrels chewed the line,
yeah,
or a car hit the pole.
Yeah,
So we and then in the old days, especially up here, the rural areas, everybody had a pond in front of their house because there was no municipal water, and the pond was so if the house caught on fire, the fire trucks could pump the water from the front yard to put the fire off and put the fire out in your house.
must have been a big pond.
They were pretty good ponds. Now they're all algae, and everybody forgot why they were there in the first place. Now they're just decorative
Yeah, yeah,
because the utilities have gone further and further out, and the fire trucks now have big tanker trucks, and they're not necessary as when they were first in the 60s, 50s, and 60s. It was a good idea to supplement what they didn't have.
yeah.
I live in a house that's 180 some years old, and it was on 180 acres originally. And the story of my house is it was way up on the property, but in the 50s, they wouldn't bring the utilities past the front line. So it was used in the Underground Railroad, and the history of it is African Americans from 500 miles around came here, tore the original house down, board by board, brick by brick, stone foundation and all, moved it to the front of the property so that the owners could get their utilities, electric and gas and water. And, they keep wanting us to open it up as a historical land site. And I said, no. You get free taxes if you open it up once a year to the public.
Oh,
And
really?
I don't want to be told what not to do or what color not to paint it or how to remodel it. But it's pretty much in its original state, all well done and redone and rewired and plumbed. But I like it. But it's no longer on 180 acres of land. My neighbors are right on top of me. It's all subdivided. But we got a nice view of the valley. Look out my back deck and you see the original IBM where it was born. Acres and acres and acres of IBM plants that are empty now, or not empty, but they're leased to private companies. IBM is gone. I think they got rid of the last 15 maintenance men 4 or 5 months ago.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
What are they going to do without maintenance men?
Well, IBM is gone. IBM gave up their leases and it's completely gone. But now some of the buildings are rented out to Lockheed Martin, BAE Industries, and different private industries have taken over the buildings and revamping them and bringing them up to date.
Now, do you still have your drug testing business, Mike?
I got rid of the majority of the drug testing business, the commercial end. I still do drug testing for a couple of counselors and judges just strictly for DUIs, DWIs, criminal and family court cases.
Surely people don't drink up there.
Pardon me?
Surely people don't drink where you live.
No, they guzzle.
And Bob takes a big drink to that.
Toast, yeah.
Yeah, it's surprising how many people come in for their drug test and you tell them it's an 80-hour alcohol residual. So they got plenty of notice. Don't drink 80 hours before you come to see me. And they just, I mean, their numbers are astronomical. They must have had a drink when they got out of the car to come in to see me.
Yeah.
It's incredible. But some people are just, like I had the one guy say to me, well, I only drink a case of beer during the football game and maybe a few shots.
Yeah.
That's not abnormal.
Yeah.
Most people drink a whole case of beer by themselves while they're watching TV.
Mm.
Sounds like the old days in my early life.
Mm.
Well, that was in the old days where I used to keep a case of beer in the trunk of my car. So if I got pulled over by a cop, I gave him a 6-pack and everybody was happy.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But not today. Now it's all about the money. You get caught drinking today, it's going to cost you $1,500 at least.
Yeah.
Mm.
I remember when I was 16, I went to all the bars I wanted to in the liquor stores. Nobody ever asked me for ID.
Yep.
But back then, the legal age in Tennessee was 18. But nobody really cared. If you looked like you was 16, that was good enough.
Yeah.
And I did. So, that was just the way it was back then.
Yeah.
Times have changed. We used to, as kids, we used to party on a farm. And the farmer came down with 55-gallon drums. And he said, you can party up here. You can have your bonfires. Just put your garbage in the drums. And I won't bother you. And then the police used to stay away from us all night. And when we broke up our party, we used to leave a few bottles of whiskey and a couple of cases of beer. And then when they were off shift, they went up and partied after hours.
Mm.
So it was kind of a mutual agreement all the way around.
Yeah.
And back in the day, if, my father-in-law was a lieutenant and he was a good guy and he'd cuff you upside the head and go, how's that working for you, smart pants? And then he'd let you go,
Yeah.
and he'd give you a lecture. You could be dead. You could have hit that tree, and then he'd give you a good cuff and, knowing that your father was probably going to beat you senseless if he found out.
Yeah.
But you could talk to the cops back then. You knew most of them.
Yeah. Nowadays, they're just so eager to throw you in jail and beat you up or shoot you or whatever.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that happened when they took the street cops off, the bicycle cops off. And, we knew all of our local cops. So we interacted with them. And so, you respected them a little bit, even if you weren't the best kid. But today, you don't know who they are. You don't care who they are. And there's no respect at all.
Did y'all see the news a few months ago where those 5 cops in Memphis beat that guy to death?
Yeah, and they just came out with tapes.
What?
They just came out with tapes on them, saying that if it wasn't for those darn cameras, we would have beat them even more.
Yeah, that's true.
That one guy recently that released the dog on that guy.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, he said he's going to get away with it, so at least I got the satisfaction of knowing the dog bites are going to be a punishment.
Yeah. But them beating that guy to death like that, and that's one they couldn't blame on racism because it was all black cops beating a black guy. And it was just senseless,
Yeah, just power. Power corrupts, especially when it's unchecked.
Yeah.
I used to talk to big groups of cops, and I used to start out by saying, most rural police departments, small police departments have 150 to 200 cops. And they would all agree, and I'd say, now, come on, every bushel of cops has one bad apple, just one. And now you got 200 cops and you got one crooked one, but you got 199 to keep their mouth shut. So who's the real criminal? I kind of respect the guy who breaks the law under the noses of 199 cops with guns and badges. I have a little less respect for the 199 who keep their mouths shut.
Yeah.
And let him be the example that makes everybody hate every cop.
Mm.
You know,
Who was it?
but their hands are tied.
Yeah. Who was it that said that the only thing it takes for evil to prosper is for good men to do nothing?
Person sent me an email, signed
That's
it,
right.
letter R. Just
What was that?
Is that you, Bob?
That was, yeah. I turned it off. My phone went off.
Oh, okay. I thought the Russians were spying on us.
I've got a brand new phone, the 14,
Yeah.
and I hate it. I grab it, I hold it by the sides, and the SOS and 911 comes on.
Mm.
You say, like, say right now, you say anything, and Siri comes on.
Yeah.
That's progress.
It's a pain right in the neck. I just got it about 3 weeks ago,
Yeah.
and it's so sensitive to everything,
Yeah.
you know. And you hold it upside down, and it does something.
Um,
Don't hold it upside down.
Well, you know, you got to watch every move you make today.
Yeah. Yeah. I know. So what's in the news that we haven't talked about yet? We've talked about the border. We've talked about, I don't know, what's the big crime story in your area, Mike?
Are you watching Gail's post?
What?
Are you seeing Gail's chats?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know if you were seeing them or not. My area is it's just the same old. You know, crime is here. It's worse than it was. Not as bad as it could be. And budgets are tight. I really think that 99.9% of the cops just have their hands tied and they're afraid to do what they signed up to do because they'll get fired.
Yeah.
You know, don't threaten our budgets. Don't threaten our job security. Keep your mouth shut. Don't make us look bad. And I just did a big thing on how we invite crime to our community. We had a big raid, 7 houses, $100,000 confiscated, 2,800 packets of heroin confiscated, 7 houses. So that was the headline. And I said to the mayor and the police chief, I said, what are you doing? You just put out a job application for 7 people. You told them they can make $100,000 in one night, and there's 2,800 customers jonesing for a fix. So whenever you put an ad out for 7 jobs, 28, 30 people show up to fill those positions. So big deal. You took 7 people off the street and you invited 28 more to the neighborhood.
Yeah. That's a good point.
You know? And I don't get invited to a lot of retirement parties or anything.
Maybe you should try politics. I mean, we know there's no corruption there, right?
You know, I don't even know anymore. Politics, both sides have their own issues. So if you think one side's bad, it's like the grass is greener on the other side. No, it's not. No, it's not. Just a
Our
different
side's the good guys, the other people are the demonic ones.
Well, see, when I was growing up, I remember that the neighborhood councilman was a volunteer. He didn't get paid. He didn't get benefits. You know, and volunteer fire departments were all over the place. Yes, there were professional firemen and first responders, but there were hundreds of volunteers. Now even the volunteers are getting paid something. You know, so that, I mean, it's a whole different world we live in now.
Yeah.
I ran a senatorial campaign in 1996. And my candidate that I was backing I didn't really agree with his party, but I really did not like the other guy. So I volunteered to run his campaign and everything, and he was canceling fundraisers and canceling events and hurt his leg and couldn't do this, couldn't do that. So one day I went to his house, and his campaign office was on the second floor of his house, and his wife raised seeing eye dogs, German Shepherds. So about 6 weeks into the campaign, I went to his house, and it was the first time the dogs didn't bark at me. So I went up the stairs, and as I'm going up the stairs, I hear my guy on the phone screaming at the other guy saying, "Darn it, you said let him manage my campaign. This guy's going to get me elected. I don't want to be the senator. You got to do something. You got to get I can't cancel any more fundraisers." So my guy, 3 times in a row, was running on purpose to lose to the incumbent senator. And then we found out later the senator was arranging, he was a music teacher at our local high school, and the senator was arranging $300,000 grants so he could take the band to the Rose Bowl or wherever. And that was the handshake deal. But when I went back, the whole party knew it. The whole party knew it. And a U.S. congressman said, "Mike, if you can't beat them, you just don't aggravate them. If you know they're going to win, kiss their rear end and make sure they remember you and give you something to make you look good in the future."
Yeah.
So, I mean, I grew up in that kind of politics. You know, there's always a give and take, and there was always an agenda.
Yeah. Sometimes people ask me if I want to run for U.S. Congress again, and I say, no, that was born and done. I don't want to do it again.
Yeah, I've been asked a few times on a local level, and I say, why? Then at 50%, I got to start lying and not telling the truth in order to get elected. This way, I don't care if 10% of you like me, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's rare in politics.
Oh, yeah, it's the job is everything. It's, you know, if you're a really good politician, you know you're going to run for one term and get kicked out. Because if you're a real good, honest, solid guy, 2/3 of the people are going to hate you.
A
Yeah.
lot of people.
A lot of people are going to hate you.
Yeah. Nobody's hated more than people that tell the truth.
That's right. That's exactly right. And I always say, less friends I have, the less birthday and Christmas gifts I got to buy. I'm very proud of the people who don't like me. I was in a diner one day, and a detective came up to me. He says, "I don't like you." And I said, "Why? Are you a drug dealer, a woman beater, a child molester?" Because those are the only cops I know that don't like me. He turned around and walked out.
And he really didn't like you after that, did he?
No, but you know, I got probably a couple hundred cops that tip me off, keep me in the loop. But they always end every conversation with, "If you see me in public, don't look at me. Don't let anybody know I like you." So there's a lot of good cops out there. My father-in-law was a great cop. I had a couple cousins that were cops that were good, straight arrow guys that were frustrated because they, you know, you sit around with them at the dinner table and they'd say, "I want to be a good cop, but I'll get fired. I'm not allowed to do that. I'm not allowed to do that."
Yeah. So do you like to watch cop shows?
No, I don't. I don't go out of my way to watch cop or mafia shows because there's nothing new there for me. It's real life. Who wants to watch that? That's depressing. But I did watch a couple. I watched Goodfellas after several years, and I could put a name to every character. The Sopranos. I got sick, and my wife's uncle had the whole series, so I watched it, and it was pretty accurate to my undercover days. It was pretty. Wasn't too much Hollywood in the Sopranos.
Yeah.
It was pretty.
I like to watch Blue Bloods. That's a good show.
What's that?
Blue Bloods. Did you ever watch it?
Oh yeah. That's a
I love
decent
that
show.
show.
Yeah, that's a decent show. I don't, I'm not coming home early to catch a show, but if it's on, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
And, I read the newspaper and watch cop shows to see how wrong they are. how entertaining they are.
Bob watches fish shows for that reason, right, Bob?
Yeah.
Did you watch a lot of, what was that, Jacques Cousteau who used to come on, Bob?
I used to watch him long time ago. Yeah.
Of course, he's been dead, I think, for a few decades.
Yeah. Yeah.
What was it called, Bob Cousteau, Deep Sea or something like that?
Jacques Cousteau. I forget what his show was called, but I used to watch it. I used to watch it once in a while.
Yeah.
Well, when he was on it, he was good. And then his son took over. He was all right. And then it kind of faded away.
Yeah.
But Jacques was very knowledgeable, very interesting, and he knew his stuff.
Yeah.
Now, the one that I've caught lately is, I can't think of the name of it, but it's a guy goes out looking for big, dangerous fish, the man-eaters. He's in different countries where people are disappearing in the river.
He goes on the rivers. Yeah.
Yeah. That's interesting every once in a while. Because he
I
actually...
watch those gator shows. They go out hunting gators.
Well, that's big business in Florida now. Is catching gators and snakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You ever tried that, Bob?
No, I don't think I would like that too much. Yeah.
First time I visited my father, he wasn't home. I was sleeping on the lawn chair in the back by the canal. And I hear this blood-curdling scream. My mother and father are screaming at me. I got up, and there was an alligator coming out of the canal
Wow.
in my direction. He wasn't close to me yet, but if they didn't come home, who knows what would have happened.
Mm.
My mother called me one time. She says, "I can't find your father." And I said, "Is his car in the garage?" She says, "Yeah, I can't find him anywhere." I knew he was at Dunkin' Donuts with his buddies. So I said, "Ma, tell me something. Is the alligator out back?" She said, "Yeah." And I said, "Is he smiling?" She goes, "You're horrible." I said, he's down at the donut shop. He's down at the donut shop. Don't worry.
Did Steve freeze up?
No, he's still there. I think he's reading the chats. And
I think he froze up. I can't. He's
Okay,
you there, Steve?
back.
Okay.
Everybody just disappeared all at once.
Yeah.
I thought maybe you had that narcolism where you fall asleep halfway through the conversation.
Yeah.
Well, I'm getting to that age. I do have a lot of senior.
Yeah. He went out again. Yeah. Yeah. He's out again. Maybe the Wi-Fi.
Could be. So, Gail, let's get one more chat. Do you think I'm disrespectful to cops? I see that you said no respect, and your brother-in-law is a cop. And you want to elaborate on any of that? And Hurricane Hillary?
Well, we can. Hurricane Hillary. Do we have heard what that was called out in the West California now? The Hurricane Hillary?
I'm not sure when it's actually coming. I think it's like supposed to be starting its effects now and really hit tomorrow.
And Gail's got something in here about Hurricane Hillary, so I didn't know if that was the name of the hurricane coming in or not.
Yeah, I just addressed her when you were froze and asked her if she wanted us to elaborate or if she had something about it. And then above that, she said, no respect. My brother-in-law is a cop. And I asked her, I said, do you think I'm disrespectful to cops in general, or would you like to elaborate? Interested in her opinion on what I said or what we've been saying.
Yeah, Gail, thanks for being here with us tonight. we are just talking about anything and everything.
A day away. That's what I thought on the hurricane, Gal. I thought it was going
Day
to
away.
really hit tomorrow.
I'm glad it's on the other side of the country. I don't want any part of it.
Well, the season's just getting started on the East Coast, so we haven't gotten away with anything yet.
Yeah, in November, the peak time, September through November or something like that.
Yeah, I don't remember. My wife is up to date on all that because when we do go to the beach, she's usually planning the dates and stuff before or after hurricane season.
Yeah. Well, I've never been in a hurricane and I don't want to be.
Yeah, you don't want to be, believe me.
No,
So you've been through a few of them, haven't you, Bob?
Yeah. Yeah, it's not any fun. It's terrible.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah.
You usually evacuate.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of them go on forever. The ones that linger, some of them are slow moving and they just go on and on and on. And it seems like it takes forever.
Yeah.
And then other ones go by fast, but the destruction is just incredible.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable. Yeah.
I remember in Hurricane Katrina, everybody thought the worst of it was over, and then the flood started coming in and everything changed.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gail says there's no respect for their videos of harassment of police. Yeah, that's true.
it is true, and I agree with you, Gal. We're just getting conversations started. Unfortunately, I've had different experiences than some people. So, but overall, I have a great deal of respect for police. Just not crazy about the system that some of them are working under.
Yeah. And the system is something we all got to work with in one way or another.
Unfortunately, the system, no matter what it is, whether it's law or whatever it is, it's geared towards profit, publicity, and security.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot of people that are in business to put themselves out of business.
Yeah, I'm like you. I think most cops are good people. You know.
I think they are. I think
Yeah.
for the majority of the ones I met were all good
Yeah.
and just as frustrated as I was.
Yeah.
But I was able to do what they weren't able to do, and nobody was going to fire me and take away my pension. That's all.
And when I was in my younger days, I used to hate the police, but I had good reason to. They were after me half of the time.
I never really hated them. I never really hated them in general, but there were a couple of guys that you could take personally.
Yeah.
And I was always more frustrated than angry.
Yeah.
It was like, how does this one guy get away with this? And,
Yeah.
When people move to my community, I say, don't call the school and see how the school is for your children. School's not going to tell you they have drugs and crime and rape. Go to the local diner. Go to the local breakfast place. They know everything about everything. They know about the schools. They know what's wrong with them. They know about the police, what's wrong with them. They know about the politicians. Go to any breakfast and lunch place, and that's where the real news is.
Gail said nobody is more than 90%. I'm not sure what she means by that.
Well, nobody's perfect, Gal. I agree with you there.
Yeah. I always say I have 3 people that I trust, me, myself, and I'm not too sure about 2 of us.
That was my guy's favorite saying.
Yeah.
The best crew I ever had was a crew of 3, me, myself, and I didn't like the other 2.
Yeah. I learned a long time ago I can't really trust my feelings all the time, and half the time I don't trust what I think.
As I get older, I realize more and more and more that I need to shut my mouth and sleep on it And if I think the same tomorrow, I'll say it. But I usually don't spout off in the heat of the moment anymore. When I
Yeah,
was younger, I think I knew more than today.
but God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yep. Listen again, and then speak. Maybe.
Yeah. And you'd always learn a lot more by listening than you do by talking. That's for sure.
Absolutely. And the people usually the people who know the least speak the most.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
I'm glad Gal gave us an LOL.
We appreciate you, Gail.
We do.
So, we've talked about this and that and the other, and I've about talked myself to death. What about you guys?
Yeah.
I think we try it again, and as
Yeah,
the word gets out, because this was kind of short notice to do
it
the
was.
trial run,
This is
and
Now, I'll be in touch, guys, and like I said before, I'm retired and got plenty of time on my hands. I'm able to shoot you an email any night and say, come on if you want to. If you don't want to, you're not obligated to.
Yeah.
Who knows what
It's
might
fun.
happen.
It'll be fun. Yeah.
We'll
That's
solve
the,
a problem, create one or something.
Yeah. Yeah. I didn't catch that, Steve. What was that?
I said we'll solve a problem or create one or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
we'll definitely give people food for thought.
There you go. There you go.
So,
Well,
Bob, you got to come out with a picture or two of your grouper, so we can see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I've got one right here. It's in black and white, but check this out.
I don't mind seeing it as long as I don't have to smell it.
Here's a picture of a red snapper that we caught.
Okay.
Okay, that's a good size.
Yeah, it was
How
3
big
pounds
was
off the state record. It was 42 pounds.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, let me see what else I have here. Yeah. This is the cover of the book.
Okay.
That's a Goliath grouper.
Another shameless plug there. Go out and buy one of those, Gail.
Here's an amberjack that we caught.
Okay.
Oh, that's a good size. Good size.
Yeah, 110. And there's some big fish around out here.
Yeah, and that book is still available, isn't it, Bob?
What?
That book is still available, right?
Oh yeah, it's on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. You can order it pretty anywhere books are sold.
There you go. Hint, hint.
Yeah,
Buy 10 copies for all your friends, right?
yeah.
Well, be careful, Bob.
Here's
Because
there's a grouper. Wait, this way on this page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
be careful, Bob, because some of us visit Florida. We may be private messaging you saying, "Get the frying pan out. We're coming by your neighborhood."
Anytime. I'm supposed to be going fishing September 16th, so I'll have some then.
Was that the magic day or something?
Yeah, Saturday, September 16th.
Is that like a special occasion with you and your buddies, or just is that a normal good?
No, yeah,
fishing
special
day?
occasion. One of my friend's wives got him that trip for an anniversary. So, I think 6 of us are going.
Beautiful. That'll be fun.
Well, have
Yeah.
fun.
Thanks. I hope the wind will calm down and, when it's windy, it's rough and that's no fun. But when it's calm, there's nothing better.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, okay, gentlemen, I'm going to say good night, and I appreciate you for giving me some of your time, and we'll do it again. Who knows when? I might be doing it tomorrow night. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Give us a call and we'll see what's going on.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in, Gal. Keep us on our toes and keep us honest.
Yeah,
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Steve. Yeah. And it's good talking to you, Mike.
Good talking to you, Bob. Nice to meet you.
All right.
Okay.
Take care.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye.